Hey, Shada. Okay. Hope everyone's having a good Tuesday so far. It's, the week's basically over. We made it to Tuesday. We're good to go. Lock in that weekend. No issues. Okay. So yesterday we talked about some solving systems with 3 variables, 3 equations. All right, we talked through our process that we're going to have to use, which is kind of these basic steps. But essentially it's just elimination like you've been doing since Algebra 1. It just adds in a couple extra steps. So first we eliminate one of the variables. Like in this problem we eliminated z. Eliminate z again to create 2 new equations like these pink ones. That's why we starred those pink ones. And then use those, solve through elimination like we're used to, get x, y, and z, and then finally write our answer as a like an ordered pair, but we add the z on the end of it as well. And a reminder, on the PFA, this is how you'll type it in as well. Just don't put any spaces anywhere. Also on the PFA, it's all integers. Okay, so you should never be entering a fraction for one of these on the PFA. It should be, integers, whole numbers. Okay. Same thing here. All right, solve x, y, z. Again, it represents a point in a 3-dimensional graph. But so we just had a little bit to finish off for today, not a whole lot even, which is just, which is just something that can happen. So I just want to show you that really quick. Both of these, it'll happen for both of these. It doesn't matter which one I choose, or I could do both, I guess. But so let's take this first one and go through how we might solve it. So if I'm looking at these, and the first thing that I want to determine is which variable should I eliminate first. So we have a choice between A, B, and C. Doesn't matter which one we do. I'd say let's start off by really any one of these would be fine to start off with. Let's just say A. So I'll first start by multiplying this by -3 so that I can get it to match up with the +3. And actually let me move this down so that I can have some space to work with. Okay, so -3a minus 6b plus 9c equals -75. I'll just copy this first one down exactly as it was. 3a minus 3b plus 4c equals -23. And then I'll add those together. So -9b plus 13c equals -98. And I'll star this so I know it's important. And now I want to go through and pick 2 other equations to eliminate A. So we already did the first 2 equations, we eliminated A. So now let's do the second and third equation to eliminate A. So again, I'll number these just to help myself organize and think about what I'm doing. So first I'll do -4 times equation 2. So that would give me negative 4a, negative minus 8b, plus 12c equals negative 100. Equation 3, I'll just leave it as is. So 4a minus b plus c equals 25. I'll add those together. 0, negative 9b plus 13c equals negative 75. And I'll star this one as well. So it's important that I get those starred ones. So I'll put those together. The negative 9b plus 13c equals negative 98. Negative 9b plus 13c equals negative 75. Okay, so let's see what would happen here if I tried to solve this like I normally would. So I might be thinking like, oh, well, this is pretty nice because I just have to multiply one of these equations by a negative. Let me move them over though. So let's say multiply that top one by a negative, so positive 9b minus 13c, positive 98. The second one will keep the same, negative 9b plus 13c equals negative 75, and I'll add the two together. 9b minus 9b, 0. Negative 13c plus 13c, 0. So on the left side, all I have is 0. But on the right side, wait, was that 98 or negative 98? Negative 98. Oops. Gotta be careful. But on the right side, negative 98 plus negative 75. So that would be negative 173. And look what happens here. This is nonsense, right? 0 is not equal to negative 173. At least I'm pretty sure that it's not. So what we say, if that happens, so this is why I was saying consider a situation that happens, if we get some nonsense like that, like 0 equals 12 or something like that, 0 equals 173, then this is what's called an inconsistent system. And that means that there is no solution. Should it be positive? Well, I thought it was negative. I think I accidentally put a positive 98 here whenever I wrote it down first, but that comes from up here, so it should be negative 98, right? Negative 23 plus negative 75. I don't know. Did I screw that up? I think that's... Yeah, I think initially when I wrote this 98, I forgot to put the negative and then remembered, oh, it's negative. So that's why I kind of added it in right there at the end. Does that make sense? Oh, distribute the negative. Oh, okay, you're right. I see. I skipped my own step, huh? So I did do it right, and then second guessed myself, and then got it wrong on the second try. Perfect. Okay. So that changes this number. It doesn't change my overall result. Right, so 98 plus negative 75, so that'd be 23. But 0 is still not equal to 23. So my overall no solution is still true. But yeah, thank you, Abby. So just be aware of that. If you get to something like this, yeah, no solution. So the same thing, I don't know. I mean, I can go through this if you want, but the same thing for this one on the right. If we were trying to solve this, we would end up with something like, 0 equals 18 or something like that. I don't know what the actual number is, but the point is we get an equation that doesn't make any sense, right? Two numbers that are not equal, but that's telling us it's equal. So when that happens, we just say no solution. But okay, so this is how we solve this by hand, right? Doing these steps. Right. However, I also have a better way we can do it. Now, you do need to still know how to do this by hand. I'll still ask you to do this like on our next little performance test that we have. But this takes a while. It's kind of annoying. So I want to show you guys how you can do this on your graphing calculators as well. Does anybody know how to do this already on their graphing calculators? I don't know if you talk about this in other classes. Sometimes teachers will show you how to do this. Sometimes they won't. I'm just desperate to get anybody to like me, so I'm just trying to teach my students easy ways to do things, Okay, so let me go back to, let's say, this second problem that we had. So I'm just going to copy this. Let's look at this one again. Okay. So if you have a TI-84 graphing calculator, if it's not right next to you, then grab it right now, because this will take, it takes getting used to it on how to type this in. But once you do it, it's so much easier to do for solving systems of equations. So you can follow through the steps with me. So get your graphing calculator if you don't already have it with you right now. Sorry I'm late. I was busy working on an art project, and then I had to restart my computer. Classic. How'd the art project go, though? Is it beautiful? Did you finish? What do you got? What do you got going on? You want to send it to me? I'll show it on stream. We can all critique it together. It's an option. Let's not rule anything out. Moving it's digital right now. Nice. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do to solve these, if we want to solve this using our graphing calculators, right? So for instance, like when you're taking the PFA or on the ACT, okay, eventually, whenever the ACT exists again, who knows when that'll be, but there'll be systems of equation problems on the ACT, and so if you don't want to do it by hand or you want to check your answer, great, use this, or if you want to use this in a later math class. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to list out all of these numbers. I also can't spell. That's all right. All right, so you might be able to recognize these numbers. So I'm going to put this in this kind of little box thing here. Are just the coefficients, right? 5, -4, 2, 21. 5, -4, 2, 21. -1, -5, 6, -24. That's exactly that second row of numbers. -1, -4, +5, -21. -1, -4, +5, 21. Okay. So I just put it in there for the coefficients, right? I put all the coefficients in there into this, what we call a matrix. Now we're going to talk about matrices later on, but we can also use it to solve this system. So I'll go ahead and show you how to do it this way, just because it's good to know. Send it if you want to see it. All right, I'll pull it up after this. Okay, so on my calculator, or on your calculator, so please, I recommend do this with me on your calculator. So that's calculus stuff, don't worry about that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click second and then x to the negative first, right? Because see, the blue writing behind x to the negative first is matrix. That's what we want. So I'm second, x to the negative first. And it's going to bring up like a list like this. But for right now, right, that's the series of buttons I've clicked. Okay, and so I want to go over to edit. See, I have edit over here. So I'm going to go to the right too. And I could choose any one of these matrices. It doesn't matter which one. But I'll go ahead and just choose this first one, A. So I'll click 1. And then it starts with these numbers, right? Up at the top, it should say matrix A 1 X 1. All right, what this means is, what these numbers at the top, the 1 and the 1 mean, is how many rows are there and how many columns are there. Okay, well we can see by looking at our matrix, there's 1, 2, 3 rows. So I'll enter in a 3 and I'll click enter. So then it should be that 3 rows pop up. And then this next number is how many columns are there. So 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. So I'm going to enter in a 4. And I click enter, and so now it should make a matrix that is 3 rows and 4 columns, and then it'll probably just fill it with zeros. So now I just want to go through and enter in all the numbers that I have from my coefficients, right? The 5, -4, 2, etc. So we just have to click the number and then hit enter. So 5, enter. And now the 5 is in there. -4, enter. 2, enter. 21, enter. All right, now it goes down to the second row. So -1, enter. -5, enter. 6, enter. -24. Now on to the third row. -1, -4, 5, -21. Okay, so everything's in there now. Okay, now here's a part where people mess up. So if you've entered in all these numbers, now what we need to do is we need to quit out of this. Right? So it knows the numbers are in there. It'll keep it there, right? As long as we've hit enter on everything. So now we're going to do second mode, so that we're just back at the home screen. You have to be back at the home screen before the next step, or it won't work. Right? So just second mode, which quits out into the main screen. Now we're going to do this again. So second, x to the negative first. So now we should see in that first spot, see it says 3 by 4. That's because we entered in the numbers for matrix A of 3 by 4. So that's great. All right, but we're not going to go there just yet. So I want to go over to this math tab from the matrix page. So I'm going to scroll to the right one. And there's all this weird stuff. We're going to have to scroll down until we get to RREF. Right? RREF. It's next to the B, should be. And once I'm on RREF, I will hit enter. Okay, so now I want to put my matrix into the parentheses of the RREF. So again, we're going to if you need to get to the matrix stuff, it's always second x to the negative first. So second x to the negative first. And now I don't need to go anywhere. I'm just going to click 1. And I'll close off my parentheses. Enter. Okay, and so I'm seeing here these first 3 columns and rows are just like ones and zeros, ones and zeros, ones and zeros. But if I look to this far right column, what this tells me is the answers to my system. So my first variable, which is an x, so I just have to look at that first number. How do we put in a? You do second x to the negative first, and then just click 1. That'll put the a inside of the RREF. Okay, but so that first number is 5, so that means x is 5. The second number down is -1, so that means y equals -1. And that third number down is -4, so z equals -4. And that would mean that our final answer is 5, -1, -4. And what do you know? Whenever we solved this before, that's exactly what we got. Right? 5, -1, -4. Right? We already did this problem. I was just showing you. So we can do it by hand, or we can use our calculators to do it for us. Okay, now again, I will ask you to do things by hand just to show me that you can do it. But if you want to check your work, or when you're doing the PFA, great. Use the TI-84. Okay, all you have to do is take your coefficients, put it into this matrix, right, which is basically just like a box that has all the numbers in it, and then do these steps of the RREF and then of the matrix we want. It'll solve. Okay, and it works with any size of system actually. So even if we, back in Algebra 1, if we had an equation that was something like this, we could do the same thing. We could just take our numbers 2, 3, and 1, -6, 2, and 5, and that's a matrix now. This has 2 rows and 3 columns, so whenever you edit the matrix, it's a 2 by 3 matrix instead of a 3 by 4 matrix. So if I wanted to, I could go to second x to the negative first. So the difference of these 2 tabs, they look very similar, right? I mean, they are the same. It just lists the matrices A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? But the edit tab is for whenever you want to put in new numbers, right? So if you're doing a new problem and you want to enter in new numbers, then go to the edit. So let's say I want to edit this first one. So instead of a 3 by 4, I now want a 2 by 3 matrix. And I have to enter in my numbers. So 2, 3, 1, -6, 2, 5. All right, everything's entered. Now remember, after you enter in all your numbers, you need to quit out of that. So second mode. We need RREF, so second x to the negative first. Go to the math tab, so go to the right one, and then all the way down to RREF. Or not all the way down, I guess, but down to RREF. Enter. And then we want our new matrix A, so second x to the negative first. It says now matrix A is a 2 by 3. That makes sense because we entered in new numbers. It's a new size. 1. There we go. Now this one's very ugly because I just made up random numbers. But what that would mean is, all right, I look at my first number, So x would be negative 0.590 repeating. Y is 0.72 repeating. So it takes some getting used to, but once you get good at it, you can do them pretty fast, right? And it's a lot of times more helpful to do it that quickly and without, doing it by hand is not the hardest thing in the world, but it does take a lot of steps. And like we talked about last time, there's a lot of room for miscalculations to happen, right? So I will still ask you to do them by hand, like whenever I send you our next like short little performance task type thing. I will ask you to do a system by hand, but it won't be a huge one. It won't be an insane amount of steps. But otherwise, if you have access to your calculator, then use that. Can you take the PFA? Sure. Is that because just now you know how to do this with the calculator, so you want to take it? Or is this something else? Yep. Abby, I approved both of those. I don't know. I saw you requested two, but they're both good to go. Good luck. Okay. Right. But otherwise, so again, mentioning what I said before, so just if you get to a situation where you get something that doesn't make sense, 0 equals 12, negative 4 equals 7, 0 equals 23. That makes no sense. So if that happens, you just get no solution. Right, or you write no solution. All right, Caitlin, let's pull this up. Caitlin, are you okay if I pull this up on stream, or you just want me to look at it myself? Yeah, it's fine. Okay. Okay. All right. So tell me what I'm looking at here. Give me the breakdown. Give me some information. I'm digging the look already. I'm gonna off the start, based on the ears alone and sharp facial features, assume this is some sort of elven or fey creature, perhaps. Right, I think that would also fit in based on, it's kind of got some natural elements here. I have a nature, see, I have a nature theme to do for the first part of my art project. Okay. All right. So this is just the first part. What then? Does something like come with this now, or do you have to like add more to it, or what? Sure, if instead of drawing nature, I could take a more fantastical turn to it. Okay, cool. Okay, so the original project was just, can you draw some nature? But you were like, nah, that's boring. Yeah, I got you, Aiden. You're good to go. Good luck, buddy. Every week, new theme or challenge to do. Okay. Cool. Awesome. I like that. It's really cool. I'm always so impressed by anybody that has any type of like drawing and ability. I don't have it. Now, to be fair, I haven't ever like actually made a concerted effort, so it's my own fault probably. But because I know it takes a long time. I know like it seems like everyone who I meet that can draw really well like this has been doing it for years and stuff, and so that's so cool. Working on making it digital because I want to add cherry blossoms to his outfit. Okay. So what's the process? I don't know. When you say to make digital, what does that mean? Does it mean just like scanning it and putting it into like Photoshop or Illustrator or something, or what? Tracing over it on Photoshop so I can then make different layers and add colors. Okay, cool. Awesome. Nice, very cool. So about how long did it take you to do this? At least this part of it. Be easier? Why? Is it just easier to add things or draw things on Photoshop than it is in real life? Or on paper at least? About 2 hours. Nice. Dang. I really like the hair, like kind of these like just strands of hair. It makes him look really cool. It's easier to erase mistakes. Oh, that makes sense. Just click the good old undo button. You should have it up or completely down. I think this is a good